Eagle Community Television presents Community Connection with your host, Mike Cooper.
Hello and welcome again to Community Connection from Eagle Community Television. Thanks for watching. Thanks to our producer, Jeff Durall. We're at the basement of Custer Hall and we're visiting about the CAMS program, or the Kansas Academy of Math and Science, with its new director, Dr. Roger Schieferecke. And we wanted to talk to Dr. Schieferecke about CAMS and give us a little more information about the program, which will be beginning, of course, with the new fall semester at Fort Hays State. Dr. Schieferecke, may I call you Roger?
Absolutely.
You're no stranger to CAMS, are you?
No, I spent the previous 5 years as the associate director to the program, academic advisor to the students, worked hand in hand with Ron Keller, our former director, who recently announced his retirement. And so, yeah, I'm very familiar with the program. Came in at the tail end of the first class. So I've known every student that's come through the program, know all the stories.
What about your job as assistant director before you took over the directorship?
Okay. The primary role of my position was to serve as the academic advisor to the student. What we often would tell parents is my role would be similar to that of a high school guidance counselor. But it was the connection, certainly serving the students in terms of what courses they needed to take, but working with faculty members on identifying potential research projects, and then assisting with the students with the college search and selection process during their senior year. We are very fortunate to keep a lot of our students at Fort Hays, but we have some that wanted to go to other places. So kind of working with students in that capacity. And then from an administrative standpoint, issuing state assessments that the students are required to take, serving on campus committees, doing service work for the campus community. So a wide variety of job responsibilities.
For those of us, Roger, that might not be aware of the CAMS program, tell us who can participate, how it all works.
Sure. CAMS is an early entry to college program. And so basically what that means is it's designed for high school juniors and seniors to complete their final 2 years of high school fully immersed into the college environment. And certainly our title would indicate that we are looking for students, and the students that are very successful are those that are interested in math and science. The program was developed to enhance and promote STEM education. And so then our hope is that students that come through this program will go on and receive a degree in a STEM-related field, and then they'll stay within the state of Kansas and keep their talents here for the people of the state of Kansas. But a student leaves their high school and finishes their high school program here, and so at the end of 2 years they receive a minimum of 68 hours of college credit in addition to their high school diploma.
So they're actually living on campus.
Correct.
They're involved in campus activities.
Correct.
They're involved in classes, right?
Absolutely.
And research projects as well.
Absolutely. So it would be, our students are Fort Hays State University college students. So they could be in a university chemistry course. There may be 20 CAMS students and there may be 10 traditional age college students. And in terms of activities and organizations, our students can do, for the most part, they can get involved in anything a regular college student can get involved with. So we have, I think last year we had 7 students on Student Government Association. We have students holding leadership roles in the Astronomy Club, the Fort Hays Honor Society. We've had students that are VIP ambassadors. So they're fully immersed into the college
they really
environment.
Get involved.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, now they're juniors and seniors, right?
Correct.
Where do you find the kids?
Well, we find them all over the state of Kansas. We've got students from every corner. Certainly, most of our students come from more of the heavily populated areas, so the Wichita, Topeka, Kansas City, Lawrence areas. But we've had students from Waukene, we've had students from Kinsley, so we've had some of the students from out western Kansas, Goodland, Liberal, Ulysses, etc. But what we do is we go out and recruit. Just like a lot of other colleges and institutions will do. And so we'll hold information sessions throughout the state of Kansas, and we go into high schools and we speak to students in maybe a gifted and talented program. We do mailings to guidance counselors, science teachers, gifted and talented personnel, high school administrators, because we want to get the word out that there's an opportunity here at Fort Hays through the CAMS program for students to really push their limits on what they want to learn. So,
you're looking for students who are really highly motivated, very intelligent, and willing to take that leap.
You could be our spokesperson. Those are the three key things: highly motivated, highly talented in those fields, and being willing to leave their high school experience 2 years early.
Talk about what the benefits are to the students, first of all, if you would, Roger.
Okay. One of the benefits that sticks out right off the bat is coursework. Yeah. We have students that come into our program that may have completed, it depends upon the high school, but may have completed the highest level of math that they can complete. And so we had a junior this year that stepped right into Calculus 3. Well, that wasn't offered at the high school. And so certainly those kinds of opportunities. The second area, but maybe even more important, is I think this program allows students to get involved in hands-on research with faculty members as a 16-year-old. They can get heavily involved doing research across all disciplines. And so I think that kind of an experience helps a student learn, applies some of those classroom principles and theories, and actually gets to put it into practice. You can't get that, for the most part, at most high schools, is that opportunity. And then, so that's kind of the coursework, but then the opportunity for a student to grow, living away from home, learning how to work with people, how to, all of a sudden they have a roommate where they may not have had a roommate before, so all that personal social growth that also happens with this program.
And gives them a big head start toward the rest of their college experience then.
Absolutely. I just talked to, we have a student that went to UCLA, and I just visited with her. She came through the office just to say hi. She's from up around the Topeka area, but she's going to be a senior, and she's going to end up pursuing med school in neuroscience. And we talked about, how did CAMS assist her in that transition, and she talked about the coursework, but then the maturity level. I have a student that just graduated in May at the age of 19 from K-State. Spent 2 years here, 2 years there, and she's done.
As an educator, Roger, that's got to give you a real high whenever these kids come back. And you see how they blossom, how they develop.
Absolutely. And it's exciting to me to see the potential that these students have, and then to see them execute that potential. I mean, it's an absolute thrill. Ron did an excellent job. He had this, I don't know what it got up to, 25, 26 pages, but he had this 25-page single-spaced document of nothing but CAMS accomplishments during the program, after the program, because we felt, we believe that we help facilitate some of those successes, but it's just amazing, and it just keeps adding up. I got a text from a student originally from Leavenworth that completed the CAMS program and went to Lawrence, and as far as I know, she's our first student to be accepted into a PhD program, and she is going to be getting her PhD in behavioral psychology at University of Kansas, and so that's exciting.
Well, tell me about the benefits to Fort Hays State then.
Okay. Well, certainly Fort Hays is gaining a very highly talented and motivated group of students, but Fort Hays has done a phenomenal job in keeping our students here, and we have some really successful students that could have gone to highly competitive programs all over the country, but they've chosen to stay at Fort Hays for a variety of reasons. One of which, and I think probably is one of the most important, is because of the quality of the education they get while here. Smaller environment. The students get a lot of hands-on interaction with faculty members. I mean, the chair of the physics department teaches their first physics class.
Yeah, professors in the classroom
exactly.
teaching.
And so we've been able to retain a lot of students. So the university is benefiting by having a highly successful population stay here, but then also these students go on to be leaders across campus. And so some of the university's best students are former CAMS students.
The program funding, talk about
Sure.
cost to students and also funding
Okay,
at Fort Hays
sure.
State.
We are funded through the Kansas legislature, and so essentially what happens is when a student comes to our program from a public high school within the state of Kansas, we actually receive the per pupil base aid from the school. So it kind of gets a little confusing, but the bottom line is that if a student, and we've had students like from Hays High, if a student comes from Hays High, they still stay on the books at Hays High. They're still a Hays High student, but we get the per pupil base aid. And then there's some state appropriations that will pay for tuition, fees, book supplies. So the tuition aspect is covered for the students. So they don't have any expense there. We give them, each student has a limited amount of research dollars that they can use while a student in CAMS. There is a cost to the family, and that's the housing, the room and board portion, and that comes out to about $7,500 a year, which is significant. And so, starting with Ron, and we've continued to do this, we've been aggressive with the help of the foundation of identifying donors, and so we have some scholarship dollars that we can help offset those costs. And then we've got some relationships with some private vendors that can do some private loans if families aren't able to meet the full cost. Because one thing that families need to know is that because they're in high school, they're not eligible for federal financial aid. And so that's an issue that we're trying to address with scholarship dollars to try to offset the housing costs.
Still trying to get a lot of support then from outside areas.
Absolutely.
Well, you had an interesting journey as a Fort Hays State grad,
Right.
leaving, but then coming back home again.
Sometimes you have to leave home to realize how good you had it back home.
Our producer, Jeff Durall, said that very same thing this morning.
So I have 2 degrees from Fort Hays. My life, I grew up at Fort Hays, and right after getting my bachelor's degree, I worked in the admissions office, finished my master's degree in the evenings. That was before a lot of online stuff was around, so I'd work on my courses in the evening, received my master's degree, and then thought, I need to go into the private world, and so I did. And for 3 years, and it took me 3 years before I could get back to Fort Hays State University. But I kind of stayed in western Kansas, but worked in the private sector. Then came back and worked in the admissions office for 4 years. And at that point, I thought, I've spent my entire life in western Kansas. Time for me to spread my wings and leave. So I ended up going in basically the same capacity, but went to the University of Louisiana at Lafayette and Director of Enrollment and Management there, and spent a few years there, and then decided, the admissions world is a world where you recruit a student, you bring them in, then you start working on the next class. So I thought, I'm going to go back, and I went back to school at the University of South Dakota, so I went from Louisiana to South Dakota, and finished my doctoral program, and it was during that time when I got exposed to student development and working with students and service learning and undergraduate research, and really working with a student from the start to finish. And
you can see the progress then,
absolutely.
can't you?
And it was that exposure, and about right at the time I graduated, I finished my program, I got a call from Ron Keller, who was told that I was in the process of doing my job search. So he called, and they had an opening and wanted to know if I'd come in and help them out and get through the rest of the first year, or the end of that first year. And so I did. It was during the spring semester. Fell in love with the CAMS program, fell in love with working with the students, and then I just never left. And then to be able to come back to Fort Hays was absolutely a blessing. And now, we mentioned earlier just the pride and the excitement that I have in seeing what our students can accomplish, and then seeing them execute that is absolutely fantastic.
It's evident, Roger, in your presentation, believe me.
Absolutely, thank you.
And those students are going to be very lucky to have Dr. Roger Schieferecke as the director of the CAMS program, the Kansas Academy of Math and Science. From Custer Hall on the campus of Fort Hays State University, that's your Community Connection. Thanks for watching.